All right, guys, we're jumping into this watercolor. So what you're gonna need is some paper, preferably watercolor paper, but if you don't have that, whatever the thickest paper you have is, okay? If all you have is printer paper, that's fine. We're just gonna have to be real careful with this. So we got like half a page, a little 6x9. We're not going crazy on this one, but this is what our end goal is, okay? A monochromatic landscape. So the first thing you're gonna do, you see these little tape pieces here. I've taped down my painting, not my painting, my paper. Just because whenever you do watercolor, it tends to make the paper bow up and do those little like wavy things. And it sort of helps keep everything in place. So if you want to, if it's in your sketchbook, obviously you can't do that. But if you have something you can tape your paper down to, go for it. If not, it'll be just fine. All right. So like I said, we're doing monochromatic. So monochromatic is variations of one color. Different shades and tints of one color in that one color family. So I'm going to go with blue, or I could go, maybe I should do red. What do you guys think? Red or blue?
Blue.
Blue? Blue. All right. Going with blue. So I grab blue and then I have black. That's all I'm using today. All right. Before we get started, I'm just going to go ahead and grab some clear, clean water, and I'm just going to drop it into my little paint cups, whatever you want to call these things. And I'm not going to agitate it. I'm not going to mix it up right now. I'm just putting a little bit of water in there so it kind of softens it up, so that when we do go to paint, it'll be there. All right, so what we're gonna do now is just a quick block in so we know where we're painting, okay? So first thing you're gonna do is draw a horizon line. I'm gonna go a little bit above halfway. Okay, and then you're gonna draw just some mounds, mountains. They can look like mounds if you want. So I've got one that's overlapping, and then I've got this guy in the back. All right. Then we're just going to draw. We're going to draw the river, and it's just a little S thing. So let's act like the river's swaying in between these two mountains. It's coming through all this. So I'm going to do a little. Oh, that's weird. There we go. A little S curve. I don't know why I said S curve. It's a curve. That's all it is. And then I'm gonna draw this guy coming out too. All right. Everything else we'll put in as we paint. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is get some water in our paint tray. And you know what? Before we do that, before you get your water all dirty, let's go ahead and I'm going to show you this technique where you pre-soak an area. So for the sky, everything above the mountains, we're going to do a little pre-soak thing. So what I'm doing is just putting water everywhere that I'm going to paint for the sky. And you can be pretty generous with this, unless you're on printer paper. Maybe don't do this step. Printer paper tends to the pulp starts to come up real quick if you do a lot of painting on it. Okay. Okay, guys. So, like I said before, you're going to apply some water, just clear water into the sky, just the sky. Okay, and what this does is when you go and grab some pigment, you can apply it and it sort of gives you the ability to just push it around. So if I put this right here, I can spread it out. You could let it dry like that if you want, and it might do something kind of cool. But I'm just gonna go ahead and apply some blue to the sky. I'm gonna sort of just push it around. All right. So, we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna let it just sort of soak in. We're gonna leave that alone. And you can do the same thing down here, but down here, you don't necessarily have to do that pre-soaking thing. You could just use diluted color. So I'm gonna grab some blue. I'm gonna put a lot of water in. Well, not as much water as the last time. This is gonna be a little darker because it's closer to us. Oh, there we go. So you guys, if I'm going too fast, I'll try to slow down, but don't worry, I'm recording this so that, all right, I'm gonna make a recording of this, and I'll put that up online so you can watch it and paint along. All right, so I'm just we're gonna paint over most of this. So really, we're just trying to cover everything up. Okay, got a little low results. There we go. I'm not pressing down real hard. That's a big learning curve as far as like using your brush. A lot of people with watercolor will like press down like this, sorry, where the metal part of the brush is like hitting the paper, and that's just it's too rough on your paper, man. You can't, it'll start to rip your paper. So you don't want to apply a whole bunch of pressure. And just so y'all can see, if you hold your brush up towards just the tip, well, you can't see with that, where like just the tip of the brush is hitting the paper, that's how you get a nice thin line. And the harder you press down, the thicker that line gets. So today we're learning just some different brush techniques. Okay, so I spread all this out. My mountains are still drying. I'm gonna let this dry a little bit, okay? You guys. All right, so atmospheric perspective, that is, well, how do I say this? Maybe just give an example. When someone is really close to you, physically, like 2 feet away from you, you can see all the details in their face. You can see like individual hair strands and all that stuff. And then when someone is like 100 yards away from you, you can't see all of that stuff. They're further away from you. That is atmospheric perspective. And part of atmospheric perspective, like if you've ever looked out at landscapes and you see something really far away, there's like this haze, like it's something that makes it look like it's lighter. And what that is the literal atmosphere between you and that object. So there's a bunch of dust particles in the air that the light hits. And so you're looking through all these little dust particles that are sort of adding this tint to the colors. So what we're gonna do now, so all that to say, the closer something gets to you, the more contrast there is. The more you'll see like dark colors versus light colors and clarity and all that. So right now, to sort of help with the clarity, we're gonna paint these mountains, and they're a little bit closer than the sky. So they're a lot bit closer than the sky. But anyway, we're going to make a little bit darker of a value for the mountain. So I've got these 2 mountains that are in the background. I'm gonna paint those with this value. Somebody's breathing really hard. What's going on over there? Okay. And then I'm going to make a little bit darker of a value for these 2 mountains. And to do that, so far I've only used blue, okay? And so what I've done is just made different intensities of blue, you could say. Like I've started out with a really, really diluted blue, and now this one is a little less diluted. All right, and try to mix that same. Don't be afraid to use water, guys. It helps spread the pigment out. Somebody's like really close to their mic. Like I can hear you breathing. All right, so a big part of watercolor is patience, okay? Letting things dry. There we go. So I got right here. Oh, you see what happened? I wasn't patient enough. See how that's sort of spilling out? It's not the end of the world. Life goes on. But it's just something to be aware of. Like if you paint water next to something that's already been painted, then it's going to probably spill out. Or yeah. So just show you again. Here's what we're aiming towards. All right. Here's where we're at. We'll get there. Okay. So what we need to do right now, let's go ahead and paint in some of the river, all right, or the stream, whatever. It's not a river, it's a stream. We're gonna get kind of a dark blue, not super dark, just a darker blue. Let's see. Okay, and then what we're gonna do, make sure all this is pretty dry so it doesn't spill over, but I'm gonna start back here. Not pressing down real hard. And then once you get about right here, you're gonna start to like leave areas unpainted to where it's just the white of the paper. And I kind of go horizontal. What we're doing is trying to show like the reflection of the water, of the ripples in the water. So probably not gonna be like a whole bunch that you would see back here. Just where's all the blue gone? Okay. They're not like completely horizontal. You can leave like a big chunk right there the closer you get, because we'll see the water will be like closer to us. And that just sort of helps give the idea of water. And we're not done with this, so just be patient, you know. Let's see, I'm gonna come over here and paint all down here. And honestly, I'm gonna be real careful and paint right next to here. Okay, so we get this sort of idea here. We'll come back to this, it's not done. Kind of looks like a road right now. The blue brick road. Okay, hopefully our mountains are starting to dry. It's not quite dry back there. I'm gonna go ahead and, yeah, it's also kind of a fun technique to get like a cool texture if you want. All right, so now I want like super blue, mostly blue. So I'm gonna get a whole bunch of it. And we're gonna paint like a tree line along the back of the mountain, or like where the mountains and the ground meet. And this is, you know, we're not painting like individual branches or anything right now. We're just painting the idea of trees. So the silhouettes. So let's get a whole bunch of blue. And I'm just gonna do like a thick line back here. And I'm going to start just pulling some of the paint up. It's really far away so we don't see like all the individual stuff, and you're trying to make thin lines. This is a good practice for how to make thin lines. And if you want, I don't know if y'all can see, let me show you. My brush is starting to like sort of split apart because there's less paint in there, it's starting to dry out. You can kind of use that to your advantage and maybe get like some different lines, but I gotta put some more paint on here now. So what I'm doing here, you don't have to do it like this, but this is a kind of a fun technique, is just putting like a big bead of paint right here and then just pulling your lines up. It's okay if they come down. We're gonna actually do that. We're gonna be painting over this again too. All right. So I'm gonna actually bring this down, and yeah. So that tree line is gonna come all the way down. It's gonna sort of mimic the blue brick road, the river, the stream. Okay. We're getting there. We're not done yet. Let's see. Okay. So let's see. Let this soak in a little bit. Now we're gonna start using some of the darker values. What's up?
Is that keeping you off
It has before.
today?
Yeah.
It's my second time getting part of my Zoom.
It's a free day, man. Just go for it. Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do, like I said, the closer something gets to us in the zones of recession, I haven't mentioned that yet, sorry, zones of recession, background, middle ground, foreground. So we don't really have foreground yet. The creek is coming out towards the foreground, but we're gonna add some trees really, really close in the foreground. So what we're gonna do is grab some dark blue, and to do that, my goodness, I need a whole bunch of blue. Should have used red because I've been using blue for all my other classes, so it's thinning out. Okay, bunch of blue, and I'm gonna grab some black, or a bunch of black. Holy smokes! Okay, let's see if I can push all this down. Make a big mess. All right, grab some more of this blue and try and, there we go. I don't want it to be pure black. I want there to be just a little bit of black. Okay, so we're gonna put like 3 trees right here. So I'm going to just bring that line way up. I'm gonna sort of give this idea of a tree trunk. And I'll have 2 that are gonna be right next to it. All right. Happy little tree. Isn't that what he says? All right. So then what I'm going to do while this is kind of drying, I'm going to grab some more blue and I'll make this, you have a little bit of black in there right now, but I'm going to add some definition to this, this creek. I still don't know what to call it. It's not a river. Creek probably sounds right. Let's do creek. Stream, this water feature. Okay, so my light source is kind of coming from this side. You kind of see how like it's brighter. It's definitely like behind the mountains. That's why it's darker on the mountains. But I'm going to just sort of go with that. And this creek, I'm going to put a dark value of blue right here on the left side of it. And that'll kind of like spread over all the way over. In my mind, it will anyways. Okay. And on my paper, I guess, if we're being technical. Okay. You can, like up here, you can kind of just a thin little application. Kind of spread it out a little bit if you want. Well, it's way darker on the camera, huh? Okay. Let's grab some clear water. I'm just kind of spread this out. Kind of don't want like the huge shifts in value. You want it to be a little bit smoother. All right. Now, let's revisit these trees. Got this black. That contaminated my blue. Uh-oh. Get all that out. Okay, so we're gonna do sort of that same technique like we did right here. I'm gonna put like I'll start on the outside trees first, sorry. I'm gonna put like a little bead of black, and I'm just gonna pull some of that paint out for the branches. Like that. You see how my brush is starting to dry out? And it kind of creates like this cool little texture as you paint. That kind of mimics the trees. And you just keep working on that until you get something that you like. And it's okay if it looks a little scraggly. What we're gonna do is come back over with blue here in a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this guy. All right, brush isn't quite as dry. There we go. Try not to overwork it. You can always go back and add more later. You can't undo it as easily as you can just add more. All right. Now for the big guy. Okay. And come on, just pull these branches out. So, you know, I've got a whole bunch of paint on the tree trunk and I'm just pulling that excess paint out. That's one technique that you could use down the line. All right, so I'm gonna leave that alone for now. And I'm going to, you know, these things are getting closer, so I'm going to get some really dark blue. And I accidentally, I had bad form. I didn't clean my brush before I dipped it into this blue, and I got a bunch of black in there, so now it's like not pure blue. Okay, that's better. All right, so now sort of revisit some of this stuff. These trees are getting closer, so we're gonna see a little more definition. Just oh, there we go. And then you can kind of pull some of it out to sort of show that you can like see like the tree branches and whatnot. Put a little bit back here, if you would like. All right. Kind of got this weird little hill right here. I'm going to try to thin that out. Okay. Got all carried away right there. Let's see if I can pull some of this down. If not, you just got to be kind of quick and come at it with a paper towel if you don't like what you got. Yeah. So I don't like this sort of texture. You may, but I don't. So I'm going to get just water from the jar to kind of thin that out. I'm going to paint sort of sideways to give the idea that like that this ground is going that way. Yeah. And I'm actually going to leave this bright area alone just because this to sort of help communicate that the light source is coming that direction. Let's see. All right, now your big trees are hopefully dry, more dry at least. What we're going to do is get some blue, some dark blue. I'm going to just, okay, it's still kind of wet, so you got to be careful. You're just going to paint just a big like sort of shadow over it. But if you press down real hard and if you work with it a lot, you'll start to agitate the paint that's underneath it, and that black will start to spread out. So if that's a look that you want, then cool. If you don't want it, then you got to be quick when you're painting right here. So have a plan, you know. And then I'm just gonna sort of bring it forward. Let's see. Okay, so now getting there. It's pretty good. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of brush along the edge of this. Whatever we called it. It's crick. Anyone ever say crick in your family when referring to a creek? Oh no. This riddle got a little hasty. So I'm gonna try to leave. No, I'm just gonna keep going because time. So this idea of branches, and then I'm gonna do it over here too. But I'm gonna use some blue because for that. So these branches, I start back here and I have these little like ideas of the branches. Not branches, the tall grass. Then I'm working on my brush technique with small, thin lines. Kind of bulk it up at the base, but yeah. All right, this over here is getting out of hand. I need to do something about that. So I'm going to, whew. There we go. Press down on that to try and, the paint, I don't know if y'all can see, it's trying to soak in to places that are still damp in the creek. So I need to do that. And now I will try to get some more pigmented paint, and I'll just go over that. And I think we're done. All right, so I started with this, went to this. Not bad. You know what? If you wanted, this is still kind of drying. You could sort of just add a little bit of definition in the foreground. Cool. Yeah. Don't overwork it. Sort of let it rest. All right. So that is what we're going for. That is how we do this.